Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of my Let's Play series of Planet Coaster. It's actually a game I've been playing for, ever since it came out, so about 4 years now. And I've always wanted to do a little Let's Play series, but I've never felt like my skills were up there. But now I've decided that, you know what, maybe I should just go for it and see where it lands. So in this very first episode, I'm gonna be starting a new park. And there's no better way to start a new park than with a car park. Or, unless you don't like realistic parks, then it's actually to build an actual coaster, which is also fairly understandable. But as you can see here, I'm now planning the road layout. I want to have this car park split up into two parts, and you will be walking straight through the center towards the main entrance. As you can see, I'm building that path now. Didn't exactly go as smoothly as planned. I just can't really understand why the coaster editor or the path editor in Planet Coaster, even after 4 years of being released, it's just still so buggy, and just there's really not a whole lot of good things to say about it. And you'll see me struggling with it a lot more in this time lapse. But as I said, I wanted to have a main path straight through the middle of the car park where you walk through when you're walking up to the entrance. And then I want to have the park sort of wrap around that. So as you can see right now, the road layout is finished, or at least the surrounding layout. So here I'm now starting to work on the actual parking lot itself, and I wanted to, of course, make this a very expandable design, because I'm going to be doing a lot of copy pasting. In the end of this time lapse, I believe there's room for well over 3,000 cars in this car park. I kind of underestimated the size because the park size is actually quite big, and I thought like, oh yeah, I could just use up quite a bit of space for this. And so yeah, I ended up making it quite a bit bigger than you'd probably want in a fictional park in a computer game. But that being said, I did really enjoy looking at the final result, since it is really something I'm quite proud of actually. It has a lot of detail, as you can see. I'm now placing in a little divider for between the cars, and I've also placed some planters for some trees, so that's a little bit green. And later I'm gonna add some lanterns and of course the cars as well. And in the end, it became really detailed, and just a car park I'm really proud of. Also, as you can see, to avoid repetition, I placed a whole lot of different trees and at different heights and rotated them differently, so that when I copy paste them, it's at least a little bit different, unless you look at them from head on. There will be a couple of perspectives in this video where you can very clearly see that these things have been copy pasted, and that's by the trees, that they all have like the same height if you look at it straight through. But as you can see, my first plan was to just rotate it around and then paste it. The problem with that was that the parking spaces were just in the same direction, and I want to have them kind of point towards each other, as you can see here. And also, of course, I would have like the trees and all twice, and it is quite a performance hit as it is right now, so I really didn't quite need that. Also, at the end, I want to make like little planters to have like a little divider. But as you can see here, I'm now starting the copy pasting progress, which was really tiring. It took me well over 15 minutes for just this section. The second section I don't actually have on recording because it was just too boring. But it just took so long. It doesn't look like a lot, but this is sped up 25 times right now. So yeah, it was actually really a lot of fun, since when I was doing this, the new OnePlus phones were being announced. So on my other screen, I had the press conference up, or well, not with a lot of press since the whole Corona situation. So it was just a little bit of mindless copy pasting while just watching a video of a phone I'm not going to be able to buy because it's too expensive. But as you can see, I've now copy pasted everything along, and now I'm going to start work on the cars. I basically did this by creating a couple of standard cars in a couple of different colors, and then copy pasting them all over the car park. So as you can see here, I've already made the standard set, and then I thought probably the best way was to just make a single row, and then, or make 2 rows actually, and just rotate them and just do some things with them so that it looks more diverse than it actually is. Because to manually place in every single car in this car park, with 3,000 cars, it's gonna take so much time. So I wasn't gonna do this. As you can see, I've there pasted that single row over the car park. And here I'm now starting with the second row. I wanted to make the second row a little bit less colorful, so that it's yet again a little more diverse looking, but also just have the little splats of red and yellow in there, even though in reality those cars really never, or aren't as common as they are in this car park. But as you can see, that's half of the cars finished. I couldn't copy them over because yet again I wanted to have the cars point towards each other instead of diagonal, so I had to make another row. And so I'm also pasting this row all over. And as you can see, that looks like a good filled car park. So by this point I decided the road needs a little bit of updating, and it looked a little bit plain, so I added some foliage around the sides. So right here you see me editing in the guest spawn points, because I wanted to make it appear as if the guests were coming from their cars in the parking lot. And then, as you can see, I was managing the path connections, which is the second time I'm struggling with paths in this video. And then I wanted to come from between the cars onto the main entranceway to the main entrance, which actually really worked out well. It isn't on video, but I've actually placed an entrance and the guests started spawning, and because this car park is about 35,000 pieces, the park rating was actually quite high, so there were actually hundreds upon hundreds of guests spawning, even though it's just a car park. But yeah, it worked out really well, and it was the exact effect I was hoping for. So we might see that in a later episode. Yeah, here I'm filling the second part of the car park. I'm just using the cars from the first part because, well, that's just the best way to do that. Or at least it's the easiest way to do that. It's not actually the best way to do that, but the best way just takes too much time. So yeah, the other side also deserved some love, but because it was outside of my park borders, which I actually said there I could make it bigger, but I wanted to make it more like roadside foliage, so a little bit less dense. I later off camera also edited the terrain. Oh, also as you can see here, there's a visual bug appearing. I will also talk about it in the live commentary section a little bit later on in about a minute. But yeah, I made a little mistake with the way I did the cars. But here I was actually doing the decoration of the main entranceway. I wanted to have like little fantasy style banners on each side of the path to have like the feeling you're really walking up to something grand. So that's what I'm doing right here. I also wanted to add it in a little bit of foliage, like some little hedges, to really make the distinction between the path and the road on the sides of it. And of course, some street lights. So as we finish up the street lights, that's actually the end of the time lapse. So I'm gonna see you in the live commentary section. So here we are. That was quite the time lapse. But yeah, as you can see, I'm really happy actually with how this turned out. I love this look, you know, like if you look through the lane you're gonna be walking through, see all the cars and see, like, you're gonna see right up the entrance, and it's like, it creates a feeling of anticipation, I believe. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. However, I messed up because all these cars are just copies of a few cars I had over here. Because, well, that was just the easiest way of getting, it's like 2,500 cars in here. But when I pasted them, I forgot to turn off their lights. So I have one here now, and if I turn it to nighttime, as you can see, the lights are on, which shouldn't be a problem, except for that the game doesn't really handle this well, apparently, if there is 2,500 of them in a tight space, because then this happens. All those blocks. I have no idea what causes this, but this is so irritating. And also the frame rate just goes down to like 3 or something. Like seriously low, and the input lag, if I press a button now, that's how late I move. So I am very seriously considering removing all, if not most, of the cars, just to make the game run a bit smoother, so that I can test everything at night, and that if I ever make a dark ride or an indoor coaster or anything indoors, actually, I want to test that at night, and I want my game to be able to handle it. As you can see, in the day it's pretty acceptable, actually, considering there's about 35,000 objects in front of me right now. I must say, the frame rate is really not too bad. However, that will be it for this episode. On the next episode, I will be working on the entrance itself. I'm thinking of like making a little round plaza and then adding the entrances around, and then making a little welcoming square in front. I'm not yet sure of how I want to tackle the main street, if I want to do a main street or if I just want to make like a main path that branches off into the rest of the park. Maybe a train station somewhere over here. I do love a train in my park. And I also need to add some fences or any other way to close the park off from the road, because, well, you don't want people to be able to get into the park without paying the price. And also, it's just a bit of a deal breaker when you're walking in a park and suddenly you can see the parking space. That really takes you out of the experience. that's coming up in the next episode. I expect it to be kind of in the same format as this one, like a time lapse with a little bit of ambient music and me narrating what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And then a little live section just for me to explain what I like, what I don't like, if I might change something off camera, like the cars in this case. But for now, this was it. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please consider liking and or subscribing. It would help me out. And I will see you on in the next one. Also, maybe check out my other series. I do some Minecraft, I make some games. Would really appreciate it. Well, thank you all so much for watching and goodbye.